development of primary curriculum, which is the subject that we're all interested in because we're teaching children at a young age now, and many countries have got their own schemes, and there are a lot of schemes off the shelf that you can have as well. So we had a session last year actually on this topic, which is very productive, although we haven't really followed up on it too much. But the idea is that there are some international elements in common that we have got. So what we wanted to do was just get the views from people from different places as to how we should develop a primary curriculum, and if there is anything that we could do in common, so that we could have the extra credibility of being able to say, well, this is one that's recommended by some standards organisation. Dare I say it, FIDE or the European Chess Union, or a national federation. And we have Kevin O'Connell here, who's of course very knowledgeable about the current arrangements for recognition of a curriculum. And I can kind of, it's probably fair to say that FIDE, the issue with FIDE is that its concept of chess is the traditional concept of chess, and they are leaning more towards training rather than education, in the sense that the trainers at FIDE tend to have greater influence in the shape of the curriculum, whereas those of us involved in chess in schools recognise that actually children in schools do need a much more accessible and playful environment for them to enjoy chess. And so we have got this tension at the official level, if you like, between the traditional way in which chess has been taught, kind of top-down approach, and the more modern approach, which is the chess in schools, where we have to use modern education techniques, including mini-games, puzzles, and class exercises. So these are the sorts of issues that we have to grapple with. And so, welcome our speakers here today. Can I just check who's actually got a presentation that they would like to give? Or are we going to just... oh, nobody's got a presentation? Great, no slides. Good stuff.
Sure. Can I just clarify something about the FIDE internal position?
Yeah.
And that is that there is indeed internal conflict between the Trainers Commission, of which I am a member, and I do train at seminars, and the Chess in Schools.
Do you want to stand up? Sorry,
yeah, sure. So between the Trainers Commission, of which I am a member and a lecturer, so I do trainers seminars, and the Chess in Schools Commission, of which I'm chairman. And I try not to get, well, I end up being the one effectively in the middle of this conflict. What John said is exactly true of the Trainers Commission, who would like, ideally, to control everything to do with not just training, but coaching and teaching and everything to do with chess in schools, which we fight against for obvious reasons, because we're the Chess in Schools Commission. The Trainers Commission does indeed have exactly this old-fashioned, this traditional approach, with the intention of manufacturing chess players. We, on the other hand, have worked on developing curricula, utilising those modern methods, especially what we've done in conjunction with the Italians, Alessandro Dominici, who's connected both with my FIDE commission, and he's also a member of our ECU Educational Commission, for which I'm a member. The psychometricity course, so-called, we call it early years skills, because psychometricity is a difficult word. It frightens people away. Early years skills is a curriculum, if you like, that we use for kindergarten children, And I think, it was Pep yesterday who said, who spoke about players describing this as shit. And indeed, that is precisely what a number of people from the Trainers Commission, the term that they used to describe it. And when we presented this at one commission meeting, one could see several grandmasters sitting around sniggering and, yeah, rubbish. Anyway, that just gives you a little bit of insight into where we are within FIDE and what our problems are.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that clarification, Kevin. Well, we've got to start somewhere. On the list, Jerry Nash's name came up first. So, Jerry, would you like to just kind of...
The greatest obstacle for chess in education is the chess community. So having said that, I'll leave that where it is. But several comments about our topic for today. When we talk about a primary school chess curriculum, first of all, at some point we need to define what we mean by curriculum, because that word has different meanings in different contexts. And so we need to define what we mean by that. Then as we think about whatever curriculum that we might adopt, create, adapt, whatever, we need to think about that curriculum in the context of current education standards in different countries. And of course, even in the United States, different states have different standards. So we know this is, it varies from country to country. However, there are some basic standards in the areas of literacy, math, critical thinking, life skills. Those are some broad umbrellas which we need to think about. We also need to think about, in terms of the curriculum, what connection does it deliberately make for the educators or whoever is using the curriculum? What connections does it make to the areas of the curriculum, whether it's literacy, math, social studies, geography? What connections does it make? Because if we're leaving that to the educators, we're basically cutting ourselves out of the conversation, because in the context of their own workplace, they're struggling to do what's normal. Now we're asking them to add this element of chess. If we don't help them make those connections, they're going to say, thank you, I don't have the time. So we need to be making those connections. We also think, in terms of creating this curriculum, that we need to think in terms of collaborative conversations. And we need to use those educators who may have absolutely no background in chess as the collaborators in creating what it is that they need. Whether it's lesson plans, how do they do lesson plans? Because for a lot of chess coaches, they don't need a lesson plan. They walk in, they teach how something does, they walk out, because they've got this vast store of knowledge. For a teacher, in an American classroom, you don't have a lesson plan, you get written up, that goes into your record. You could be fired for not having that lesson plan. So we need to have this cooperation between teachers, the coaches, and specialists who write curriculum. And then finally, we need to have not only the curriculum, whatever it is that we recommend that people teach in whatever structure, but we also need to have a collection of resources. So whether it's the online curriculum, whether it's websites, whether it's videos, whatever it is, we need to collect those resources so that they're available for teachers, so that they don't have to hunt all over the entire world and the internet to find these things. So,
some institution that's got some standing in this field. So then we start to look at the word like FIDE, ECU, USCF, whatever it is,
And I would say, from an education standpoint, those are meaningless. I mean, from a U.S. education standpoint, When I tell teachers about the United States Chess Federation, the response is, what is that and why would you have it? So that, in terms of a credibility standpoint,
Yeah.
yes, I would say those organizations, but also we need education organizations that educators would look to.
But is there an international education
Oh, yes,
authority that one
Yes.
could get an imprimatur
yes,
from?
yes.
And I mean, which organisations would they be? UNESCO. Okay.
Well, there's UNESCO, there's International Literacy Association, there's International Math Association, so there are a number of education associations that people would look to
Right.
within their community and say, then this is legitimate.
The other point, Jerry, I'd like to pick up on what you said was in relation to you're looking for people to bridge the gap between the chess world and the education world. And so you're looking for, as it were, educators sympathetic to chess. And I'm thinking of the books written by people like Alexei Root, which are trying I think doing a good job to make that connection to say, look, here's chess and mathematics, or here's chess and science, chess and something, you know.
Yes.
And I think that's the sort of resource that it seems to be very valuable, and I
Yes.
think that she's doing a great job.
And we need more of those.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
We
got
need more.
Great links to literacy, to
Yeah.
numeracy, roots are good. And
Yeah.
the
Music,
Exeter,
dance, geography, history.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's written about all of those.
Yeah, she should really be here. Maybe next time.
and the Exeter curriculum you mentioned is also excellent because it's divided to themes, so
Yeah.
it's very recommended.
Yes, I mean, one guy, Dr. Dave Regis in Exeter, has written marvellous stuff.
I teach chess in a teacher trainer school, and apparently there is a conflict between classical chess and chess for education. I had the impression yesterday that some people just want to get rid of classical chess because it's too competitive, and that we only have to stick to the rules, how the pieces move, and don't play any game anymore. But in my teacher trainers curriculum, so students who will be teacher, I always teach the classical game. Of course, I want to show them what they can do, for example, with the early years skills. And I don't know to which extent I can go to have this part of training as well, to show what can be done, or do I simply have to stick to the classical game and let them discover themselves what they can do with it. So starting in preschool with those early skills, early year skills, and internalize what is important to become a good chess player. Because I believe that all those mini games, all those extras, are always meant to internalize the skills you need to become a better chess player. Apart from the competitive aspect, because I believe that you don't have to play chess and be competitive. You can play chess, the classical game, without being competitive.
Is there a kind of reaction against too much competition? And if you would come to a conference like this and go to some of the sessions, you might think that competition was a bad thing. And but on the other hand, we do know that many children enjoy competition, boys in particular. And how do we reconcile that with the other aspect, which is competition, of course, divides children. It separates them into those who can play chess well and those who can't, in which case they will kind of drop out of the chess class. So how do we deal with that?
I think
Jinwoo.
and also the emotional thing. You win, you lose, you get emotional, and you learn to cope with this emotion, and this is an extremely important part of learning and playing chess. So I think it should be as a part of the curriculum, and tell those teachers that competition and the emotions coming from this competition is an essential part of chess. And it's just, can I just go back to this curriculum part? I think there should be some kind of a sample curriculum set by some international or some recognized body. But I think it should be only a sample. Because first of all, you have a different background from different countries, different cultures, different languages. Also, you have different age levels. Now, below 5-year-olds I don't think they can have same curriculum as a 12-year-old. So you should have some sample curriculum for different ages and for some different cultures.
On the FIDE Chess in Schools website, which is very difficult to navigate, unfortunately, because of the way that it was set up, but we do have an attempt at just that. We have 4 curricula as models, and this one now for kindergarten, and then we have another one that we recommend, I forget off the top of my head, but I think it's 6, 7, and another one for 7, 9, and another one 10 and older. It's a bit crude and it's a bit preliminary, but it's something along those lines.
There's quite a few curricula that represent, again, the area, the approach of that country is, but there are some approaches. I think what you, Kevin, have mentioned before with the grandmaster's sneering, in the back of the room, it represents the polarity in the approaches. Should they see their approaches one and the new approach as completely opposite, but it shouldn't be that. There is a midway.
I want to say one thing here. I listened to you saying about competitive chess and scholastic chess, but in my opinion, how can a student gain the benefits of chess without being competitive? What I mean is that if we just teach the kids how to play chess, they will not really gain the benefits of chess. For example, decisions taking under pressure, or evaluating a position and take the correct and make the correct move, or to be alone against your opponent. No parent is going to save you, no trainer.
Decisions under pressure.
Of course,
It's a life skill.
Yes,
So
I'm also using it when they come on the demo board. For example, 50 kids are watching one. I'm saying to the kid, do you feel the pressure? Everybody's watching. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I said, now imagine that 50,000 people are watching, and I want you to ignore them and do your job. I mean, we are teaching them to operate under pressure because these are benefits that can be transferred to other subjects and also to life. And
Definitely.
I want this competitive character of chess.
And now you have students who do not like the chess tournament. That's fine. But they enjoy art. And that takes that group of students who would not have an outlet and keeps them involved.